Hi, welcome to the second video on artboards. This time I'm going to take you step by step through making the two sides of a postcard to advertise my images for when I speak at, say, photographic societies and for giveaways for anyone I think might have an interest in my work. And this is where I use artboards. Okay, my name's Ken Fisher. Let's get dug in. Right, now I'm not going to go into great detail on the technical side of artboards. That's all covered in my video Artboards Part 1. So if you need a bit of a refresher on creating and managing artboards, then have a quick look at that first and then come back and meet me here, okay? That's great. Okay, let's create a new artboard. So first I'm going to go to the File menu and New. And instead of creating a new document, in the document type box, I'm going to select Artboard. Now from here, I can choose different artboard sizes, which are mainly phones and things like that. But I can also just choose something that I want. So I'm going to put in here inches. I'm going to have a width of, say, 4 inch and a height of 6 inch for like a postcard. And I'll put this up because I want this as a print job, so I'm going to put this up to 300 pixels an inch, and then I'm going to click OK. And here I've got my first artboard. You can see top corner here it says Artboard 1, and in the layers panel you can see it says Artboard 1, and there's just a blank layer in it. I think I'll rename the artboard, and I can do that from here, from the layers panel. So I'm going to double click and I'm going to type postcard front. Postcard, oh, I've got a big R, don't like when it capitalizes, so I'll put a little R in. So we've got postcard front, and when I just click to accept, it renames it here as well. So now we're off and running with our first artboard done. Okay, now to help me align things, I'm going to create a grid. Now the first thing I need to do is to make the artboard active. So I'm going to select the artboard tool, which is here nested with the move tool. And I'm just going to click where it says postcard front. And you can see now that I've now activated that artboard. You can see that by these pluses that come all the way around it, and these little square little boxes that come at the sides and the corners. Now I'm going to go to View and Guides and New Guide Layout. Now there are some guides still left in it from last time, which I can now change. One important thing to recognise is the target, and what I want this set to is selected artboards, and this means that these grids that I'm going to make now will be here for this artboard only, so I can make a second set, a different set for my second artboard. Right, so let's explain a little bit. We've got the colour of the actual guides, which is like a cyanic colour. We've got columns and rows. At the moment we've got 2 columns and 2 rows. And these bits in the middle, these are called the gutters. That's the space between. So you can see we've got 2 and 2, and we've got a gutter in the column of 50 pixel, which is this one. And we've got a gutter between the rows of 10 pixel, which is this one. And then we've got the margins, which is the things that are going off around the outside. So we've got 150 pixel at the top, we've got 75 pixel at each side, and we've got 30 pixels at the bottom. So I'm going to change these because I don't need 2 columns. So I'm going to go for 1. For my front one, I'll select that as being 1 as well. I don't need any width and height in here, and we haven't got any gutters anyway, so I'm just going to 0 them out. And then the margins, well I'm not really bothered, that's a bit too much, so I'll stick that to 75 pixels at the top. I'll type in 75px for pixels. Oops, I've typed it in twice. There we go. Left margin 75, that's okay, I'll leave that alone. Bottom 30, not really interested in the bottom at the moment, and my right 175 as well. So I know that anything I put in here now will be centered. It'll be in the middle, and that's brill. And then all I'm going to do now is go and click OK. And there's my guide set up for my first postcard front. Okay, let's start building the front page. Now I've got some assets that I want to use on this postcard project, and I've got them stored in my library. Now the libraries panel is something you get if you've got the photography package. You've got 20 gigabytes, I think it is, of free space. So basically these are stored on the Adobe server and not on my computer. So this means I can get at them easily, and I can also get at them anywhere I happen to be in the world. You can do exactly the same if you don't use the library panel by creating folders on your computer and adding your resources into them. It works exactly the same. Now I've got a brush that I might want to use, I've got some images that I want to use on the postcard back, and I've got some assets that I want to use on the postcard front. And at the bottom I've got some textures that I'd like just to texture up the page a little bit so it looks a bit more interesting. So okay, let's start with the assets here, the postcard front. I'm going to click and drag that image. You drag it from wherever your image is in the folders and drop it into here. And then I'm going to shift it around. I'll put it into that corner, and then I'll bring this corner in so it just lines up with that side. So now I've got it lined up in the middle with like a 75 pixel border all the way around the edge, and that's cool. It's got a little cross in it in the middle here, or a big cross, and this means that it's brought it in as a smart object. So I just double click and leave, and you can see now if you look over at the layers panel that we've now got that postcard front layer as a smart object on top of the blank layer. Okay, next I'll take a logo. So I'm going to click and drag my logo, put that in there, resize that to fit, probably take it to there, and then just make it a little bit bigger. Okay, in there. And then I'll take some contact details, and I've prepared these just as little GIF files with transparency, so they'll just drop into any document quite nicely. And so here I've got my website, my blog, and my Facebook profile. That's fine. So that's the first assets in, but it does look a little bit cold, the outside, because it's just all white. But we're going to deal with that now with some textures. Now you'll notice if you look in the layers panel that these assets are all being added as layers in the postcard group, and it is actually a group, so you can click that little disclosure triangle and you can close down the group, so everything that's in the postcard front is in that group, or like that. I can open it back up again. Now the normal rules of the layer stack do apply here, so I would like to put a couple of textures on. So let's try first, let's put a bit of colour in. We'll have a blue texture, so I'll drag that over and drop it in, and it does drop it at the top of the stack, which is not really any good for us, but I can position that and resize it to make sure that it fits. So I'll just do that, and then I'll double click. So I've now got that in place, but it's in the wrong place in the stack. So what I'm going to do is drag that down to the bottom, and now it's in the bottom. Now I can just try, it's a bit too blue that, so I'm just going to try and drop the opacity a little bit. And I think that's probably a little bit better. Okay, I'll try another one. I've got a piece of wood just to give it a little bit of oomph. So I'll drag that one over. Whoops, I missed it. Drag that one over, drop it in. Again, I can drag it in and get it in the right position. So we'll just make that a little bit bigger. The quite a lot of grunginess on that side, so let's just take a little bit of that off, and then we'll just make this a little bit wider to fit. That's okay. And then I'm above the blue layer, so let's try, shall we try a blend mode? Let's try overlay, soft light. Soft light just gives us a little bit of that texture showing through. Yeah, I quite like that. I think I'll leave that as it is, and that's my first page. All done. So that's my postcard front, all finished and completed. Next, we want to do the back page. Okay, now we need to do the back of the postcard. For that, we need another artboard. So I'm going to go to the Artboard tool, and in the tool options bar at the top, I'm going to click the artboard with a little plus in, and then I'm going to click anywhere on the workspace, and there we get another artboard. It's called Artboard 1. Again, you can see in the layers panel we've got Artboard 1. I'm going to double click on that and change it to postcard back. Okay, there we go. Postcard back, postcard front. We're cooking with gas now. Right, now I want to add another grid. So again, I'm going to go to View, and down to Guides, and down to New Guide Layout. And it's still got the layout in from the front of the postcard, but I want to change that now for the back. And what I want is, I'll have 2 columns, and we'll have 3 rows. And if I just move that, you can see that building up. We've got 2 columns now and 3 rows. But this time I do want a gutter. So for my columns, I'm going to have a gutter of, let's try 50 pixel. Let's see if that works. Yeah, I think that works okay. And we'll try the same. So we've got it even Stevens. So we'll try 50 pixels in here. That looks pretty cool. Yeah, pretty cool. And then the top, well, the top margin I'd like to be a little bit bigger. So on this one, I'm going to put that up to, say, 150. That drops everything down. I'm going to leave the left to 75, the bottom to 30, and the top to 75. Or, well, let's put the bottom up a little bit. We'll put that up to, say, 50. And that'll lift everything up a little tiny bit. Right, okay. Well, let's click OK on that. And that's the grid that we're going to work with. So let's go and find some stuff to put in the grid. Again, we're going back to my libraries panel, and I've got these 6 images. Okay, so let's get the first one, and we're going to drag it and just drop it into here. And that should have put that in the postcard back, which it has. There it is. So I'm just going to reposition that. I'll take the second one and put it in here. And I think you can see there's a pattern emerging here on what I'm doing. I keep forgetting to double click to accept the smart object. Okay. And then that one. And that one. And that one. Me warhorse, which I like me warhorse. And that's a little bit bigger, so I'm just going to squish it down a little bit so it fits in the square that I've made with me grid. There we go. That looks pretty cool. And then I want my logo at the top, so I'm going to go and fetch that. Oops, when I've accepted that. And take that and put it up here. It's a bit big, so I'll make it a bit smaller. Yeah, I think that works in the middle. And then like we did before, let's have as blue for as texture. We'll put that in. We'll drop that down just to make sure it fits. And then we'll drop the opacity again. Probably have it a bit bluer on back. Or maybe not. No, we'll leave that as it is. Then we'll get us wood texture. Drop that in. So take a little bit. Well, I might leave that in a little bit actually. Give it a little bit more robustness. And then we'll try what blend. I think it was the soft light blend mode, wasn't it? Yeah, it was. Yeah, that was quite right. I'm gonna accept that again. I quite like that one. Right, I'll just get rid of my libraries panel, and then you can see what we've achieved. We've now got a 2-page, or a front and a back page, for a 4x6 postcard to advertise the images with. Okay, now we've got 2 pages finished. Now you might want to export them. Now if we look under the file and the export menu, file, and we'll go to export, we've got 2 things at the top here. Quick export as PNG and export as. Now quick export as PNG is what it says. It's just a quick export as a PNG file, basically with the settings that are set up already in the export as section. But what happens if you want to quick export as another format? Well, you can do that if I go down to export preferences and I just open that up. You can see in the quick export format area I can change this to either a JPEG or a GIF. Now I'm going to select JPEG because that's what I want to export it as, and then click OK. So the next time I do it now, I will go to File and Export, and it will now say Quick Export as a JPEG. But it will just do that. I click on it, it asks me where do you want to put this file. I'll just put it on my desktop and I'll click OK. And there it is, it appears on my desktop. Now the next one is Export As. And that's if I go to File and Export and Export As. And now I get the Export As dialog. And I can change anything I like here. I can change the format again, the width, the height, the scale. I can do a load of stuff in here. I can add the copyright and contact information, blah, 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 blah. I can do it all. And you can see that I've got 2 artboards here and it's picked up both of them. If I only wanted to print one of them, I could take that tick out. If I want to print both of them, I'll leave that tick in. And I'll leave all these just the default settings, and then I'll click Export. And again, it'll ask me where do I want to put it on. I can say, well, I'll put this on the desktop again, and I'll just click OK. And now there is a quicker way of getting to these. If I'm over in my layers panel, if I right click here on the Artboard group, I've got Quick Export as JPEG and I've got Export As, all readily available for you to go. Well, that's it for the incredibly useful Artboard feature in Photoshop. Give it a go. Now please don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel by clicking on the icon here at the bottom of any page on the website, and subscribe to my newsletter to make sure you don't miss any of my upcoming videos. Now if you can do both things for me, I would be very grateful. It only takes a second and it will mean a great deal to me. Okay, I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.